Hello, my name is Reza Khan and I'm from Bradford, and this is my Minute Manifesto. As you can see, this little thing is dangling too much to the right. What we have to do is change it to the left. Why? Because as soon as the Conservatives came in, university fees shot up, as opposed to the Lib Dems who wanted to lower them. That worked out well, didn't it, Nick Clegg? What we want to do is get the lefties in, self-confessed lefty, and we want to get those uni fees right now, because everyone has a right to education and everyone has a right to not be in massive amounts of debt. Thank you.
My name is Laura. I'm originally from Ireland, been living in Bradford for the past 6 years. I've chosen the Home Office because I've worked with asylum seekers and refugees for the past few years. What they're subjected to when they come into this country is nothing short of horrific. So I would increase legal aid, bring it back, and give them more access to, if they want to attend university while they're here, give them more access to support, language classes, everything that's been cut by this government I would reinstate. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian, I'm from Bingley, and this is my Minute Manifesto about Treasury. This country is losing a lot of money to tax dodgers, so if I were in charge I would crack down on tax evasion. I would make it a law that every pound spent in this country on a good or service will be taxed. It doesn't matter where the holding company is that receives it, or what tax haven that the company is in currently. It will be taxed because it is being paid in this country.
I'm Alexander, I'm coming from Bradford. I am working for pension.
Well done.
And keep going, and all the time, we all not going through this. We have to do it all the way, not going through. They do it, and they might do it at all.
Well done, just keep that up now. And I'm Marilyn Aidy, and I'm from Chickley, and this is our Minute Manifesto for Work and Pensions. And what I want to say is that anybody in the government should now be taking note that people with disabilities, either learning, physical or both, need a say and need to be listened to, because people go and vote when they have learning disabilities, but not necessarily for the party they want. The reason for that is they don't understand what the manifestos are. So please get your fingers out now. Please include people with learning disabilities, and please put some literature out there that they can understand. You can use symbols, you can use photographs, you can use sign language, and if you need any help with that, then ask. It's not unachievable, and then you might get thousands more votes. It's up to you now.
Hi, my name is Kavina.
Hi, I'm Aisha Mia.
Hi, I'm Sami Yusuf. And this is our One Minute Manifesto. I was in charge of the government. I wouldn't change anything about the NHS, and I will keep it the same because I think it's very important to us.
I feel that the NHS is beneficial towards us in many different ways.
I think that obviously because the NHS is very beneficial to us, and if there is any parts of improvement that we could make, well, if we were a part of the government and if we were in charge of that certain sector, we could obviously improve in many ways. But obviously it's really beneficial to us because, for example, if no one had health insurance because it's so costly for us, how is anyone supposed to get emergency healthcare services? And people have they have all sorts of issues, financial issues, which they can't even deal with. Then how can their people afford to have the cost for their healthcare service? So that's why we think that NHS is very important and it should always stay.
I'm Dave from Bradford, and this is my Minute Manifesto on defence. Defence is really important to our global community, where it is a very turbulent times. We've had refugees drowning, all sorts of problems in the Middle East, in Africa, in very many different communities. However, I do think that a nuclear deterrent is completely wrong, and particularly the billions of pounds committed to Trident. And I think we should have much more resources around peacekeeping and enabling the development of troubled communities rather than destruction of them.
Hello, my name's Samuel Stebbins. I'm a first-time voter. I'm from the town of Keighley, and this is my Minute Manifesto. Things I would change is more harder laws on rule protection, like people fly tipping and dumping stuff on rural and public monuments. I would follow the similar laws in Germany, like if someone gets caught dumping or abusing the environment, they'll be, well, not locked up, but dealt with harshly, and that's what I'll do.
Hi, I'm Michelle and I'm from Bradford, and this is my manifesto. If I was in charge, I would make sure that we would have more money available in the education sector so that more local authorities would have more money to spend on children, their education, make sure that there are less free schools, as I believe that teachers that teach in schools should be qualified. We shouldn't just have anybody teaching our children. I also believe that university tuition fees must be reduced, as we have a lot of disadvantaged students who are unable to afford the cost of living. They may be able to apply for a student loan, but before you even add the cost of living, they're in debt of about £40,000. That's not fair. The politicians that we have in the cabinet today, they didn't pay university fees, and if they did pay, it was nowhere near £9,000 a year. So we need to work at reducing that and making that education accessible to all young people.
Hello, I am Jonathan, I'm from Bradford, and this is my 1 minute manifesto on sport and culture. What I would change is, firstly, I would bring arts and sport to the forefront of British politics. Above any other issues, I believe that the expansion of our minds and our creativity should always be the first thought in any child's development. I'd also make it easy for schools to bring children closer to the arts and to the sports, rather than subsidise for other things. So I would make, say, theatre trips far more often. I would have sort of had mandatory few every year. I would certainly recommend certain theatres. I would have, one idea would be to get theatres to come in more regularly to Bradford, or say sports persons more regularly to all schools, to encourage the children to push for those more than is currently. Basically, like any politician that would want, I want to make things better than they are, and that's really the aim.
I'm Simran Jandu, I'm the Deputy Member of Youth Parliament for Wakefield Central, and this is my Minute Manifesto. If I was in charge of education in the government, I would change the way that A-levels are now set out, and then again split it into 2 years rather than 2 whole years together.
So my name's Daniel, I'm from Bradford. I've chosen the Department of Justice because I get the impression sometimes that justice can be bought. I mean, sometimes people are guilty of doing stuff, but if they've got lots of money and they can hire a really swanky legal team who knows how to play the system, I'm not going to cite specific examples, but I think sometimes justice can be bought. So what I'd do, if I was in charge of a Department of Injustice, I'd turn it in from the Department of Injustice to the Department of Justice using my magic wand, that is. My magic wand. So that's what I'd do, and that's my Minute Manifesto.
My name is Ifyo Kachibong and I'm from Bradford, and this is my Minute Manifesto. I'm wearing a stethoscope because I want to talk about the NHS. I feel very strongly about the NHS. Everyone around the world is envious of our system, and I think one of the things we need to do is ensure that we're not being completely ruled by the managers in the middle, that it's all about getting more doctors, more nurses into the NHS. I don't believe that the people at the top who are running the NHS should be paid as much money as they are. Knowledge is power, so I think it's important that we learn from other countries around the world who have successful health services, and we make our system much better than it already is.
Right, hello, my name's David, I'm from Leeds, and this is my 1 Minute Manifesto, concentrating first of all on the area of sport. Very interestingly, the Premiership is one of the most successful leagues, if money counts, in the world, if not anywhere else come to that. But, oddly enough, in terms of the clubs that have people on a living wage, it's only tiny. And one of the first ones to sign up for that was Luton. Luton, who's heard of them? They're not even in the Premiership. But if you've got huge clubs like Manchester United, Manchester City, who are affording to offer players up to £310,000 a week, surely some of their support staff and some of the people that are working there should be on a living wage. And one of the things I find both within the film industry and sport industry is that huge divergence between a living wage and the minimum wage. where you have people who might be trying to break into the industry in London on pitiful wages, and football starting at, well, a mere pittance. Almost that terrible idea of internship, which we all know how that ended. And that's about it, really. Redistribute it.
I'm Phil and I'm from the Ministry of Education, and if I was elected I would make sure that education is put at the forefront of all policies, because education of our young people is really important to increase the economy and the benefits of the country in the future years. So I'd start obviously with university education, make that free again. Obviously there are issues with the money, but I believe as a country we can afford to make education free, because we recoup the benefits with future technology, with future young people getting engaged, and more for industry. So I think that's really crucial. Less tests for young people, but more focus on quality education as opposed to constantly going for league tables, and I think that would make the education system much better throughout the years for both young kids through to teenagers through to people at university.
I'm Alvin Eddy and I live in Shipley, and I'm telling you what's wrong with the NHS. The NHS is very sick. 1949, an Irish Bevan, God bless his soul, set up the NHS to be free at the point of access. And what has happened to it? Money's been drained out of it. Private contracts have been given. There are far more managers than ordinary staff. More money's being spent on furniture than medicine. Get back to normal. Get back to where we came from. You shouldn't have to pay. It should be free for everybody.